Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast Lehr. And we're off to look here at the Befehlspanzerwagen, or Panzer for Command Tank here. A rather fun little unit, also a bit overlooked as of late. But again, in some regards, actually quite powerful. But again, overlooked not necessarily, you know, the most impressive looking unit. You think, oh, that's a Panzer IV with a rather stubby gun. Ach, ich want ein Tiger. And certainly a Tiger is nice, but a Panzer IV Command Tank does have its place for numerous reasons. And you might be wondering, well, what sort of reasons are those? Well, we can start with the initial one. You might be noticing that little shield over there when it's in friendly territory. And I note this is a bonus that only applies in friendly territory in whatever sector it's in, but basically it gives all units in that sector, and it means all units, tanks, infantry, support weapons, all units, a 20% damage reduction bonus. Which means in general your grenadiers will be much harder to take down. Same in your support weapons, your tanks can actually withstand a few more shots depending on what sort of vehicle they're facing. And overall, it basically makes you harder to take down. It makes you to allow you to coordinate a stronger defense. So that, I mean, it's very much to some extent, I suppose, a defensive ability, though I suppose a clever player could in fact use it offensively by sort of getting to the very edge of that sector and, for example, getting the opponent there before, you know, fully moving into enemy territory. But that's something to sort of keep in mind about the Panzer IV Command Tank already there. I mean, it does give a rather noticeable bonus already there. And that's also usually one of the things that tend up to be a bit ignored. And of course, as you might also be noticing, it's actually also rather rapid firing. And that's one of also the other major advantages with the Panzer IV Command Tank, because alongside that rapid fire, there's two other things which are quite important to note. One is, it has very low scatter, meaning it's generally very likely to hit infantry it's firing at, which makes quite a difference. Then we'll just speed up here for repairs when sort of getting moving again. And alongside that high rate of fire, that low scatter, we get 1/3 little extra charm here, which really makes a Panzer IV Command Tank an absolute infantry annihilator. And you might be wondering, well, what is that? It actually has reasonably high splash damage. So that combined with a high rate of fire and the low scatter basically means you can actually do a lot of nasty things for infantry if you allow it. And of course, it generally benefits more by standing still. There we go, conscripts are advancing, taking a few lost sets of machine guns, and there we go, all of a sudden, several men down to one hit. More units moving up there. Further kills being inflicted. And again, just rather rapid fire. They're reasonably rapid there from it. And of course, as the veterans is up and begins firing faster, I mean, that's going to become further pronounced on the Panzer IV Command Tank. It then, of course, has the other advantage of the Panzer IV, which of course are armoured skirts, thus increasing its armour. And of course also blitzkrieg, so in many regards it's a rather unique anti-infantry tank, and it certainly also has slight effectiveness against enemy armour, but preferably, though light armour, you don't want to be engaging medium armour on your own, or certainly not heavy armour, but to a certain extent, I mean, if you can outmaneuver the medium armour, you can actually fire into the rear and sort of do alright with this high rate of fire, though it's not what you should be counting on to sort of take down the enemy armour, but still, possesses many unique advantages. And again, it can absolutely devastate your opponent's infantry. A well-handled Panzer IV Command Tank can do more damage, for example, than an Austrian flak Panzer in general will. And can even compete, I would argue, with the Sturm Panzer IV. Partly because of the blitzkrieg ability, which again allows it to be a lot more maneuverable than the Sturm Panzer IV alongside that turret. Plus, it's cheaper and doesn't require building to call in. So again, I mean, numerous advantages to the Panzer IV Command Tank. Again, not something you see a lot because, again, it has very limited effectiveness against armor, but again, versus infantry, it can be absolutely devastating. Of course, on the defense, it also provides some quite noticeable advantages. Because, again, that 20% damage reduction bonus is quite the bonus.
The blizzard is gone.
Though, again, note, only applies, I believe, also to your own troops, but also only in territories you own. And only one sector at a time, so rather important to note. You can't use this ability offensively. Though again, a Panzer IV Command Tank on the offensive, for example, is quite handy when flanking the opponent. Firing into the flank, for example, quickly clearing out a support weapon, or getting some particularly nasty target.
The Soviets are attacking! Territory claim!
And there we go again. Defensive bonus up. All of a sudden, this infantry will be a lot harder to deal with, except of course if the sniper fires, in which case, no chance of survival. Which of course is unfortunate. There goes the fire opens up. But even then, no, it barely took any damage, despite, you know, being a shot that definitely should have done a lot more damage, you think, being an extra fire. But again, 20% damage reduction bonus. Oh, well, that's not so bad then, is it, Heinrich? 9. So, again, there are numerous bonuses here to the Panzer IV command tank and numerous usages.
Taking fire!
I mean, don't underestimate it just because it isn't the world's leading tank destroyer. But again, use it because it can actually do quite well against your opponent's infantry, but also help you shore up a defensive line versus your opponent. And again, another hit, and again, I mean, at this bit, you know, a regular Panzer IV would be down to half health. But instead, not half health. So, quite a difference there, quite a difference. Something again to keep in mind. Something very much to keep in mind. And again, it applies to all units, support weapons, infantry, armor, all of it gets the same bonus, 20% less. And of course you might combine it again with the Blitzkrieg or other abilities depending on, you know, what doctrine you're going for. But overall, I mean, that's sort of a brief overview of the Panzer IV command tank and why you might want to consider actually using it, because again, well handled, it's actually quite lethal. I mean, it can absolutely tear through your opponent's infantry, and certainly something that can devastate larger masses of infantry again through its sheer rate of fire, and also high splash damage combined with low scatter. So, hopefully, after having watched this, you might be a bit more keen on the Panzer IV command tank and utilizing it in combat against your Bolshevik force. And of course, if you are, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to share with your friends. Everybody else, except your enemies, of course, they can never know this. So hopefully you've enjoyed this, hopefully you've learned from this, and hopefully you've been inspired by this. If not, well, try watching it again. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers.